Our next speaker is Mr. Farhatullah Babar. Mr. Farhatullah Babar is a former senator who has served the Senate of Pakistan from 2012 to 2018. As a senator, he championed the cause of human rights, freedom of press, and transparency in the governance. He also served as the spokesperson of the President of Pakistan from 2008 to 2009. He is a prominent civil society activist and continues to raise his voice on the issues of public interest. I invite Mr. Farhatullah Babar to share his views with the audience.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the very warm introduction. Honorable Speaker of National Assembly, Raja Parvez Ashraf Sahib, the Honorable Deputy Chairman of the Azerbaijan Parliament, Mr. Adil Abish Oglu, former Acting President of Pakistan and Chairman Senate Farooq Naik Saab, and eminent jurist, Law Minister, Senator Azam Nazir Tarar Saab, Excellencies, leaders of the political parties, members of parliament, members of academia, media, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a great personal honor and privilege for me to be addressing this distinguished gathering, these luminaries, on the International Parliamentary Convention. I should like to begin by congratulating the Speaker of the National Assembly, Raja Parvez Ashraf Sahib, who thought of celebrating 50 years of Pakistan's constitution. This Raja Sahib will always be the first line and very important line in your biodata, that when Pakistan was celebrating half a century of its constitution, the person who led these celebrations was Raja Parvez Ashraf Sahib, whom this very constitution is a distinct honor for him, because this very constitution, when it was framed, he must have been a child of 10 to 12 years. But this constitution made him the Prime Minister of Pakistan. This constitution made him the Speaker, the custodian of the House. And this honor will always be an important line in his biodata, which nobody, Raja Sahib, can take away from you. No ordinary person and no chief, whether in Islamabad or Rawalpindi, can ever take this honor from you. And for this honor, well, you may have deserved this honor, and the respect goes also for the party to which you belong, and the party's leadership also. But at the same time, let us not forget that Raja Sahib, in saadat bazore bazu nest, in saadat bazore bazu nest, ta na bakhshad khudae bakhshinda. Raja Sahib, we're talking about the constitution in the changing world, and what are the challenges? I have identified 4 major challenges. And these are the challenges which are common not only all constitutional democracies in the world, but these challenges are more pronounced in a constitutional democracy like ours, like Pakistan. In my view, the foremost challenge to constitutional democracy anywhere in the world, but more so in Pakistan, is what the Honorable Acting President of Pakistan, a short while ago, stated: the non-state actors, the militants, the extremism. And what is the challenge? The challenge is that if in this fight you lose and the militant wins, that means the end of constitutionalism. So you can't afford to lose this fight. You must win. Because if the militant and the non-state actor wins the fight, this house is gone. the Constitution will be the dustbin. But, Honorable Speaker, there is a side also. When you are fighting the militants in order to exterminate them, there are demands from you and from the House. And the demands are from the security establishment that they want more and more powers to fight the militants. So you have to strike a balance. And this is the challenge of a constitutional democracy. They demand more powers, and the exercise of those powers erodes constitutionalism, erodes fundamental rights. So while you cannot afford to slacken the fight against the militants, you also cannot afford to give unbridled and unchecked powers to the security establishment. And this is the challenge. And the Honorable Speaker knows, and who would know better than him, that there was a challenge to us when there was a demand for setting up military courts, which were completely eroding the constitutionalism. But it was the wisdom of people like Honorable Speaker and the political parties' leaders sitting here that they allowed military courts, but with a sunset clause. So you have to face this kind of challenge. And Honorable Speaker Sahab, the challenge is dramatized when, and I don't name any country, but if there is a perception that in any constitutional democracy, the non-state actors have the backing of some elements of the state, then the challenge becomes more profound. And it is in such situations when the honorable members of the parliament and the Speaker of the parliament will have to play a very critical role. The second challenge that I want to place before this distinguished gathering, which all constitutional democracies face, but again, not as much as in Pakistan, and that is the rise of populism. And we have witnessed the rise of populism in Pakistan. And when populism rises, democracy, democratic institutions, and the Constitution becomes the first casualty. So we are confronted with the challenge of populism. I don't want to name anybody. It will be unfair. But you and I, and everyone knows that we are passing through a phase of extreme populism in Pakistan. And this poses a great challenge to constitutionalism, which we have to address. The third challenge, Honorable Speaker Sahab, in my view, is the polarization. To some extent, as the Honorable Law Minister had pointed out, that polarization is inevitable because political differences are, in a way, polarization. But when the polarization becomes so deep and so pervasive that it does not remain confined to political parties, it creeps into the state institutions. When the state institutions are polarized from top to bottom and left to right, now that is pretty serious polarization. And you all know we have witnessed what kind of polarization we are witnessing, not only between the political parties or within the political parties, but also within the state institutions which have been considered to be sacrosanct, whether those institutions are in Islamabad or in Rawalpindi or anywhere in provincial capitals. The state institutions have been polarized, and this poses a very serious threat to constitution in the changing environment of Pakistan. Honorable Speaker Sahab, another challenge, in my view, is the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few people. In a sea of poverty, when the wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few, those few cannot survive for long. There will be upheaval. And this brings me to the idea of equitable economic field. Again, I would not mention any country, or the name of anybody, but when the commanding heights of economy, and what are the commanding heights? The commanding heights are business, commercial, industrial complexes, contracting, and the real estate. When all these major business activities and commercial activities appear to be in the control of a few individuals or one institution, then a dangerous transfer of resources is taking place from the underprivileged to the elite. And only 2 days ago, the UNDP report said that the transfer of resources taking place from the underprivileged to the elite is to the tune of $17 billion a year. Now, with this kind of disparity, constitutionalism will be threatened. Finally, Honorable Speaker Sahib, the Law Minister pointed out about the technology and also the fake news. This is really a very serious challenge. With this mobile in the hand of everyone, everyone has become an editor, a publisher, a broadcaster, a reporter, a commentator, a filmmaker, and a publisher. And the time gap between information and dissemination is zero. So what happens? Fake news spreads. And fake news has threatened democracies and institutions. But ladies and gentlemen, it pains me to say that the fake news is not only in the private sector. There may be instances when the state institutions are also involved in fake news. I don't have to go beyond that. But when we address the issue of fake news, which must be addressed, we cannot close our eyes to the fake news being pervaded by state institutions. They are more dangerous because they tend to promote a narrative, a bayaniya, which narrative can erode totally the democratic and the constitutional structure of the country. Honorable Speaker Sahib, what is the way forward? I think that, let me quote from one of the resolutions जो इस कौमी असम्बली ने 10th अप्रैल को पास किया था. This National Assembly passed 4 resolutions. And one of the resolutions, it began by declaring all members of the Constitution Committee of 1973 and of the 5th National Assembly of Pakistan, which made the Constitution, it declared all of them as national heroes. Good enough. Yes, they were, and they will always continue to be our national heroes. But, Janab Speaker, the same resolution also stated at the end, it declares that all those who abrogated, subverted, and suspended the Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan and or upheld or otherwise lent legitimacy to the suspension of Constitution, those who abrogated and those who lent legitimacy, the resolution of the National Assembly, which Honorable Speaker presided, says they will always find mention in the National Hall of Embarrassment. So the first step to go forward is to create a National Register of Embarrassment, in which all those names who abrogated or subverted the Constitution, they are mentioned in black register. Honorable Speaker Sahib, I want to thank you very much for the honor that you have shown to me, and I want to thank everyone here for listening to me so patiently. Thank you very much.